Hello everyone and welcome. This is another in the 10-minute tip series of recorded programs for credit and collection professionals. My name is Michael Dennis and this program is titled Washing Machines Work Hard. Introduction. Well, I recently read a meme post that said something like this: hard work is the key to success. And my post response was, washing machines work hard. Unfortunately, hard work is not enough to ensure your success in essentially any field of endeavor, including credit and collection. If hard work were enough to be successful, then construction workers would be the most successful people in America. Then farmers would be the most successful people in America. Hard work is not enough to ensure your success. In today's 10-minute tips program, we're going to talk about some ideas that credit professionals can use to be more effective, more efficient, and more successful on the job. I should have said on the previous slide, in addition to being more effective and more successful, to work smarter, not harder. So here's some ways to be more successful. If you're going to work hard, please work hard at actually prioritizing the work that you need to accomplish every single day. If you're a manager, focus on managing credit risk rather than focusing on trying to eliminate risk. If you're a supervisor and you're trying to work smarter, not harder, delegate. Delegate more and delegate more often. If you're a collector, be tenacious, but don't necessarily work any harder. We're going to talk about how collectors can be more effective and more efficient without having to work harder later in this 10-minute program. If you're in cash application, having done that briefly, a lot of respect I have for that. My only advice is try to stay focused. It's a very exacting task, as you well know. Ways to be more successful if you're a collector, as promised in the previous slide. Try to think of every interaction that you have with a delinquent customer that doesn't immediately result in a commitment for immediate payment in full from your customer as an invitation to continue to negotiate for a better payment commitment from that customer. Please remember that your job isn't simply to take notes about what the customer is offering. Your job as a collector is to negotiate for the best deal that you can get, in effect, with every customer in every interaction. In addition, if you want to be more successful as a collector, never stop learning. When I was starting out as a collector, which I did for a number of years on a full-time basis, I studied, I learned from the people around me. Not that they were actually trainers and training me on how to be more effective as a collector, but instead by listening to them, by listening to the way that they approached customers and situations and problems, and by learning what did work and what didn't work, either by listening to them or having discussions with them about what their experiences were and what they learned from those experiences. In connection with collectors, in connection with working more effectively, focus please on the quality of your interactions with your customers instead of the volume of work that you generate every day, whether that's how many dunning notices you send out, or how many calls you make to customers, or how many messages you send to customers. Those are quantities. They don't describe the quality of the interactions. And the quality of the interactions, the negotiations, the discussions that you have to address and resolve problems, those are the things that ultimately result in outcomes that are considered favorable in the context of getting paid sooner instead of later. So fundamentally, please don't confuse effort for accomplishment if you're a business-to-business debt collector. It's my opinion, based on my call it 30 years of experience as a credit professional, that if you or if the credit department doesn't have a positive working relationship with folks on the sales team, then you and your department are probably working harder than you need to and potentially you're working harder at the wrong things than you need to. Here are a few very simple ways that any of us can improve our working relationship with the sales department relatively quickly. Number 1, please give salespeople advance notice of upcoming credit holds. Why? Well, potentially so they can do something about it. Perhaps they have a contact in the company, customer, that can make things happen in the context of addressing and resolving the past due balance so the account doesn't end up on hold. And I think it's pretty fair to say that if the salesperson did that and the past due balance was resolved and you didn't have to place the account on hold, that would be a win for the salesperson, that would be a win for the credit department, that would be a win for the customer, and that would be a win for the creditor company. If you work in the credit department and you're in a decision-making role, you need to look for reasons to say yes rather than for excuses to say no, and that will be seen as a way of being collaborative in interactions with the sales department. Remember, please, that our job is not to eliminate credit risk, it's to manage credit risk. If you want to improve interactions with sales, return their calls and messages the same day that you receive them, and ideally within an hour of receiving them. In addition, please don't delay delivering bad news to the salesperson. Bad news isn't fine wine, it isn't cheese, it doesn't get better with age, it gets stale, it gets worse, and it gets more problematic. And if you're delaying delivering bad news, potentially, honestly, you're working harder than you need to, and you're certainly not working as effectively as you could be. Voicemail messages. If you're a collector, and if you're leaving multiple voicemail messages for the same person at the same customer about the same past due balance, and effectively you're being ignored, and your messages are being ignored, then you're working very hard at doing the wrong thing. And honestly, there's a better way. If you have to leave messages, and I'm not completely sold on the idea that voicemail messages are a great strategy in the context of collection, because honestly, they're a very passive approach to debt collection. My advice is leave exactly two, and no more than 2 messages for the same person about the same past due balance. And once you've left 2 messages that have gone unanswered, do something different. Talk to their supervisor, involve your salesperson, consider a credit hold, do something different, do something other than doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different outcome, which someone described as the definition of crazy. Credit department automation. If your department isn't using some kind of credit related software, something third party such as decision support software or deduction management software or collection management software, then you're probably working harder at those roles than you need to. The type of software I'm talking about, and let's just do the first one, which was decision support software. That product has been around since the early 1990s, so it is well established. It is relatively inexpensive to buy from a third-party provider. The type of software I'm used to using is fast, it's easy to use, it's intuitive, it's robust, it's flexible, and more important than any of those other things, it's effective and efficient in helping credit decision makers to make better credit decisions. Focus on turnaround times. So if you're motivated to work smarter, not harder, then look for ways to shorten the turnaround times on tasks that the credit department does routinely. For example, evaluating credit applications. Let's say that you, on average, have a process that takes 21 days or 11 days, whatever the number of days is on average it currently takes from the time the credit application is received to the time that a decision is made, and if applicable, a new account is established and a welcome letter is sent, or whatever the process is in connection with either accepting and setting up new accounts or rejecting credit applications. So the end-to-end process is now known. It's 11 days on average. And once you know the process and how long it takes, then think about how you can shorten that timeline. And what you'll often discover when you think about how you're going to do it faster is that there are a number of either non-value-added tasks or low-value-added steps that have somehow creeped into the process of, in this case, evaluating credit applications. And then by either eliminating those lower non-value-added steps or combining them in some way or automating them, you'll shorten the turnaround, and at the same time, you will be working smarter instead of harder. Well, I see I ran over my 10 minutes, and I apologize for that. I hope I've convinced you that the key to success is not simply working hard. Thank you for your time and attention. By the way, this is an excerpt from a 1-hour program on the topic of how the credit department can operate more effectively and efficiently. If you're interested in listening to that 1-hour on-demand program, please contact my sponsor, the Wisconsin Credit Association. I see I didn't give the URL. It's www.wcacredit.org. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.